All right, James, we just had Justin from Creator Wizard on. What'd you think?
Dude, sponsorships are hectic. I was just saying now, like it's a whole business in itself. I didn't realize you could literally just do sponsors and make your living with sponsorships, just pitching, even with not many followers and not many views on your stuff, which was quite interesting. But I think what was interesting was his answers because I had a few questions around because the reason I hadn't gone down the sponsorship route is because I have my own products and stuff. So I think it was interesting how he kind of approaches that, and also how you kind of his thoughts around some of the bad actors in the sponsorship space. We went down the FTX route and stuff like that, and can they have a bad impact on your brand and stuff? It's always something to be wary of.
Yeah. I think we cut out there for a bit, but yeah, it was a fun chat. I think it was what I found most interesting was the main takeaway was that you have to do more sales. Um, I hated that answer because I had a hunch that we had to do more sales, but I think you and I both hate doing it. But it's kind of like at this point, it's a must. We just got to do it. But yeah, to add to your point, I think
Restructure the sponsorship packages.
yeah, based off of the goals of the brand. But yeah, it sucks. We'll have to do more sales for our podcast. Seeing as we don't have a sponsor for this episode either, so we got to get on it, man. Yeah, listeners, I think this is a good episode. Give it a like and subscribe on YouTube. Share it amongst socials.
Yeah, if you've got any niche website or you're building something, newsletter, YouTube, podcast, whatever, man, this is a gold mine for you to start getting some other, I guess, diversifying your income away from Google too.
All right, yeah. I think that's the pod. Go listen to it, guys. Take it easy. What's good, everyone? It's Jackie Chow.
And this is James DeLacy.
And you're listening to This Week in Digital Marketing. All right, welcome to This Week in Digital Marketing. My name is Jackie Chow. James DeLacy is the co-host, and we have a special guest today, Justin Moore from Creator Debates or Creator. Where are you from?
Yeah, I got Creator Wizard is so essentially I am a sponsorship coach. My business is called Creator Wizard, where I teach creators and online business owners how to find and negotiate their dream sponsorships. But you were right, I do have a podcast called Creator Debates that is brand new, a couple months old, where every episode two creators debate a hotly contested topic in the creator economy. Tagline is stupid arguments to help creators make smart decisions. So yeah, both work.
Amazing. Yeah, what's your story? Like how did you get started in this space? Were you a creator yourself before and then you got into teaching creators how to monetize better, or what's the situation like?
Yeah, exactly. So my wife and I have been on YouTube since 2009. So way back in the day before there was a partner program, kind of OG, we call it that early tribe. We call ourselves the OG creators, right? And so it was very much the Wild West, still to some degree it is. But yeah, we've come up on social media, transitioned from it being kind of a side hustle to, we've both been full-time creators for going on 9 years now. And then also ran an influencer agency for about 7 years where I brought brand partnerships to other creators. So have been on kind of both sides of the fence, doing hundreds and hundreds of deals myself personally with my wife, but also, helped bring millions of dollars worth of deals to other creators. And so have this interesting perspective where I'm able to kind of pull back the curtain when I coach creators and say, hey, don't say this to a brand, or hey, don't do this. Just given the experience that I have on the other side of it. So yeah, man, it's been an interesting ride, doubling down on the education aspect, because there's just so much, I don't quite think I realized how much need there is for, and how big of a role sponsorship plays for so many creators out there. I think a lot of people think that, oh, it's only for like the people dancing on TikTok, but like there's so much, like sponsorship represents a huge revenue driver for a lot of non-traditional creators as well too. So yeah, happy to dig into all that.
Yeah, I mean, I personally wanted you to hop on the pod because I was curious. We're scaling up our sponsorship efforts on the newsletter side. Um, yeah, it's tough. It's a lot of sales. I don't know if I'm completely off here, but it's not so much inbound. It's a lot more sales than I thought, and it's not something I'm very used to.
Mm,
But yeah, it was fun. How do you feel about the, before we get started on that? How do you feel about the current landscape of the creator economy? Because I have a D2C brand myself. I've seen it shift significantly from, in the beginning, it was kind of like shout outs on Instagram. That was all the rage for a bit. Now it's shifting towards more of like the video aspect, the UGC creatives. I'm not sure if that's your forte, if it's like the CPG brands that you primarily work with, the CPG influencers, or if it's more on the, newsletter sponsorships. But yeah, I guess it's a two-part question. How do you feel about the current landscape of the creative economy? And have you seen like a shift that I'm seeing, or am I completely off? I'm just like spitballing here, by the way.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think, man, this is like could go in a bunch of different directions here, but like in my experience, like all of the things that you just discussed are tactics, right? And it all has to take a step back and realize like, okay, what is the objective here? Like as a brand, what am I trying to accomplish? One of the primary things that I teach creators to ask when they're doing the sales, like you are with the newsletter and stuff, is like when a brand comes inbound or an agency comes inbound and says, hey, we want to work with you to, do a spot in your newsletter or whatever. What most creators do is they just spit back one number. They say, oh, it's going to be 500 per ad read or whatever, right? It's like very transactional, right? And it encourages commoditization, candidly, right? Whereas if you actually take a step back and you say, oh, look, absolutely, this is super interesting. I'm excited about this. Can you tell me a little bit about what your objectives are? For this campaign, larger objectives for the year, et cetera, et cetera. And there's basically every campaign is going to boil down to three goal types, right? The first is a conversion campaign, right? Where the brand wants to drive some sort of measurable outcome, right? Sales, app downloads, clicks on, coupon redemptions, app installs, whatever it is, right? Trial signups of a software, right? The next goal type is a repurposing campaign, where the goal that the reason they're reaching out is they want you to generate content for them so that they can repurpose it on their social, embed it on their website, use it for paid advertising, whatever, right? They don't really care that much about like your social footprint, et cetera. And then the final goal type is an awareness campaign, right? Where they just want that top funnel, top level awareness, right? And they're not so concerned with the kind of lower funnel conversions. And so the reason that it's so critical that you ask these questions as a creator, in your situation, Jackie, let's say that you're talking with some sort of sponsor. How do you know whether they wouldn't want to be your title sponsor, willing to pay you $50K for the year? That means you don't have to go out there and do all these sales week in and week out, and you just sell all the inventory to them exclusively for the entire year. Had you just be like, here's a four inventory package, for ad integration package, and they just pick that because it seems like that's the only thing you offer, right? And so the reason I kind of like to start the conversation around this piece is that it explodes your idea of what's possible when it comes to sponsorships, right? It's no longer this like, okay, well, if they don't work with me, then they're going to go out and hire the next newsletter. It's like, no, you're saying, okay, yeah, we can do the integration, but we've also got this podcast. Oh, you don't actually have a social strategy? You don't have a TikTok? Well, we also do consulting. We also have this agency. We also do X, blah, 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 right? So it allows you to upsell into all these other things that you can do. And all of a sudden now you're pitching package 5, which is $50K versus $2,000 for like a 4, newsletter integration. So generally, like, that's the first like answer is like all of these tactics that you're describing, whether it's shout outs on Instagram or UGC or whatever it is, like regardless of the macroeconomic conditions, it's like, let's go back to the basics. What is the objective, right? And if the objective is one of these things, then we have to go back to the tried and true tactics that we know will move the needle for that particular tactic, right? The thing that I have seen happen is that in times of economic uncertainty, what a lot of brands do, I've found, I've been through a lot of these cycles because I've been doing this been online for 14 years, is that they recede to the tried and true creators. So the people who are essentially family friendly, brand safe, the people they know are going to convert, the lifestyle, the food, the travel and hospitality, the family, like, those are the types of creators that it's just kind of the bread and butter for a lot of D2C or, a lot of CPG, like retail, consumer electronic, those types of brands, right? And then in times where it's like, it's a bull run, it's like you're going to be partnering with the more bleeding edge content, right? The political commentary, the comedy, the things that are a little bit more questionable, in terms of the outcome, the results. And so now, yeah, I think there has been some softness in terms of, like, I'm probably seeing about a 10% slippage, like, year over year in terms of where we were at in Q1 last year. But that actually is a little bit steeper in certain categories like gaming, like I said, political commentary, like those categories have seen a pullback of more like 25%, I would say. But again, like, I have not seen much softness with the kind of tried and true categories, content verticals, niches that just reliably, drive results for brands.
Yeah, all right. And when you teach your students on how to engage with these brands, do you encourage them to hop on calls? Because there's like people who just send over their media kit right away, and there's also people who push for a call. I'm guessing the calls convert better, but I wanted to hear your thoughts from the creator wizard himself.
100%. I mean, if you can get on a call, not only are you accomplish a couple things. Like, basically, this is what I teach. I say, okay, get on the call. That's the number one priority, because you're going to obviously establish rapport. You're going to put a face to the name. If, you've done this, because probably if you're doing outreach for your own D2C, startup and everything too, it's like, if you want to work with 5 creators, you're probably doing outreach to 30 or 50, because the response rate's probably going to be 50%. Of the 50% that respond, 50%'s rates are going to be too like crazy, so you're not going to move forward with them. Then another 10% are not going to be available due to scheduling, whatever. So this, like, you have to reach out to a larger volume to ultimately move forward with a handful of partners, right? And so creators need to realize this and recognize that, if they are trying to recruit 50 people for a campaign, one of your primary goals is to put a face to the name and help them understand that, like, yeah, maybe if we there's these other creators who may be cheaper, but if Justin gets on a call with us, he's asking us smart questions. He actually seems invested in the outcome, right? He's asking us about our objectives. He's wanting to ensure that we get a return on investment on our thing. It doesn't seem transactional. It seems like he wants to partner with a long time period. Like, that brand may just pay me 2-3x, even though I have a smaller reach or smaller impressions or lower newsletter subscribers or listens on my podcast or whatever, because it just seems like the campaign's going to go better, right? And so that warm and fuzzy feeling, it's very hard to quantify, like, and value that if you're a brand and an agency wanting to that's one of the things I say I tell people all the time. If you look at my wife's and my social footprint, our level of quote unquote influence right now, we are literally at the lowest that we've ever been in terms of our YouTube views and impressions, reach on Instagram and all this stuff. And we literally made the most money we've ever made last year. And the reason is not because of the reach or the views. It's because when a brand or an agency comes to April and Justin, they know that we're going to deliver on time. We're going to hit every talking point, every key message. We're going to hit the CTA with aplomb. And they know that they can rely on us, and that we know we're going to, like, hit those deadlines. And so, like that is a huge part of being a creator who has an ongoing sponsorship strategy, is realizing that brands and agencies value that so much more than most people realize.
Justin, I've got a couple of questions for you actually around the idea of maybe picking the right sponsorship. I think it's interesting if you go back not too long ago, you had the debacle with FTX, with people pushing them. You had the Scotland, what was it, that night certificate thing that ended up being somewhat of a scam. How do you teach your students as well to maybe try to avoid some of these? And have you seen anything like that have negative impacts on brands, if, say, something did come out about something that they were like a sponsor for?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things I'm seeing. Like, I think you're seeing, previous to this, you were seeing the introduction of clauses into creator contracts where it was like, if the creator does anything that plunges the brand into disrepute, right? They do something crazy publicly, or they, do something, right? This was famous during COVID. Like a creator was like at a party and like this super spreader event and like all this stuff, right? And then there was all this controversy online, right? And so the brands wanted these clauses in the contracts to be able to like terminate it immediately, this type of thing, right? But then you saw the flip side of that, like with a lot of these crypto issues and FTX and whatever, like a lot of creators wanting to say, hey, like, yeah, I'll agree to that, but I need that clause to be mutual, because if y'all do anything crazy, I need to, if I have a 12-month deal with you, I can't be out there doing my 7th month YouTube video. Hey, you should, go sign up for FTX while you're in the middle of an implosion. All right. So it's like, I think you're seeing this, again, it goes back to this whole Wild West idea, is like no one had any idea about this stuff before. And it comes back to kind of more of a traditional PR risk mitigation strategy, is like, okay, you just need to make sure what is the worst case scenario and how can you prepare for that. And the way in which I teach creators when we, when they do partnerships, is to try to just get in front of it. If you're partnering with a brand or a product or a service that there may be pushback, right? Maybe it's a pharmaceutical company, or maybe it's something that's, pushing the edge from a cultural perspective or whatever. You actually say to them like, hey, have you experienced any pushback on other partnerships that you've done with creators? What have people said? How would you like me to respond to things like that? Do you want me to delete the comments? Do you want me to moderate? Do you want me to reply? Like having those like tough conversations earlier on when it's a partnership that may introduce some sort of animosity with your audience. Having those conversations, just getting ahead of it, is like a really, really wise move.
Would you still go for those sponsorships if they were going to cause problems with your audience like that? Is that something?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you have a feeling in your gut that like, oh man, this may not go so well, then you're doing a giant disservice to your audience. I mean, I talk about sponsorships as like a win-win-win. It's like, okay, yeah, obviously you're winning. You're probably getting paid. Like let's put that aside for a second. The brand's going to win, obviously, because they're going to, you serve as the conduit to actually access a bunch of potential customers of theirs, which is really valuable, right? And then it's that third win that I think a lot of creators miss, which is that your audience should win. They should get exposed to a brand or a service or a product that they've never heard about. Maybe they're getting a coupon code. Maybe it's a seasonal promotion, whatever. So it's like you are solving some sort of issue or challenge in their life. And I think a lot of creators just don't even think about that third piece of it. And oftentimes when you do evaluate a potential sponsorship with this more holistic perspective, then you may turn down some that you otherwise wouldn't.
Jackie, you go in, because I've got another question for later.
Yeah, I think it's a hard thing to balance. I think a good example would be even like megastars like Drake couldn't say no to a stake.com sponsorship, I'm pretty sure this guy has paid like ridiculous amounts of money just to show a gambling company that ruins people's lives. I think at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer of everyone has a price. But yeah, it's a hard thing to balance. One thing I wanted to ask you is,
can I interject? Can I interject
please do.
Can I interject real quickly on that point? Because I think there is a difference between a celebrity endorsement and a creator endorsement, because this whole idea of the parasocial relationship is just fundamentally different, I believe. And so I think that actually digital creators and digital first native creators have, I think, more of a responsibility than a traditional celebrity. And they need to ensure that the products and the brands that they're promoting, are as best as they can on the up and up, because I think just audiences in general, especially younger audiences, tend to look at those product and service and brand recommendations just fundamentally differently than like a celebrity, right? If you're following Drake on Instagram and he tells you to go sign up for a crypto or investment website, you're just going to like fundamentally like weigh that differently than like a lifestyle influencer who you've watched their vlogs for 3 years and you've watched hours and hours of their content. It's just, I believe, a fundamentally different relationship, and so we do have more of a responsibility, I think.
Yeah, actually, I do agree with that. You have to hold yourself to a higher standard, especially if you're a digital native. That's why James's example of the FTX debacle was actually, that one hit different for me, because a lot of these guys were, for example, Graham Stephan came up, or Andre Jick on the personal finance YouTube. These guys are all digital natives. You spend hours watching their them sounding the COVID horn during COVID with all the bull run. But yeah, I think they really let their audience down, and there's something to be said about that. But one thing I'm actually struggling with right
I mean,
now. Sorry.
I do actually, sorry to interject in one more time, but I do also want to clarify, like it's really, really hard. And I empathize with those guys, because it's like, you look at the star-studded roster of, investment banks and venture capitalists and celebrities who, were in the, A-list celebrities who had invested. How is a creator, let's say a mid-tier creator with a couple 100,000 followers, supposed to do true due diligence on a company like FTX? From the outside looking in, you can do your, you look and you see it, like, looks like a company that's on the up and up. Like, how could you have known? I really honestly empathize with some of these creators who got embroiled in. I mean, like Graham Stephan, like all those guys, they just got recently named in a class action lawsuit about FTX and all that stuff too. So it's like, there is exposure, legal liability for those guys too. So it's like, it's tough if you don't have like a team of bankers or finance guys who are going to do all this due diligence on potential sponsors. It's like, I really do empathize. It's tough.
Yeah, especially since I don't think their deal size is that large where it warrants you to hire like a team to actually do due diligence.
Exactly.
It's a tough one, really, really tough. Yeah, I mean, switching gears, one thing I wanted to talk about here is, how do you so we talked about how the sponsorships for creators are a lot of sales. Is there like an SOP that you teach your students to follow? For example, I have a TikTok account that has 200K plus followers in the architecture niche. What would you recommend? Are we DMing people left and right, pitching them product placements? What would you recommend? I think on the newsletter side for the B2B marketing, I think we're doing a pretty good job, but always looking for room to improvement. But the architecture side, we'd love to hear your thoughts on it, just as an example.
Yeah, gotcha. So yeah, I have a pitching methodology that I teach, which is pretty universal, regardless of what type of platform you're on and where you've built your influence. It's called the ROPE method, okay? And R stands for relevant. So your pitch has to be relevant to a campaign that the brand is either running currently or has run in the past, okay? O stands for organic, meaning that you can tie your pitch back to organic content to show that your audience already has affinity for their brand or their product, okay? P stands for proof. So you can illustrate how you've helped other brands achieve results. And E stands for easy to execute. When they say, sounds good, what did you have in mind? Right. And so the form that this pitch takes, actually, should we do a real life teaching example? You're in the architecture niche. Give me a brand that you think would be dream brand. Like, I would love to work with, Lifestyles and the Rich and Famous. I don't know if that exists anymore, but what would you want to like pitch for your TikTok handle? Give me a brand.
Let's just use my D2C brand, faranaway.co. It's a dinnerware company.
So you'd want to pitch them for your architecture handle?
Yeah, it's a home niche brand. Both the architecture brand is a home niche general TikTok account, and then my
so
is dinnerware.
Okay, so what type of campaigns are you currently running? Since you own both sides of this relationship, give me a campaign that you're currently running with the D2C brand.
So what we do is we would just whitelist our own content on their Instagram account, this architecture site's Instagram account, and then we run ads from the architecture's account's Instagram, if that makes sense. So we run ads.
So I'm not talking about the tactic. I'm talking, what's the strat? Oh, that's the tactic. What's the strategy? Like, what is the campaign? What's the thrust of the campaign in terms of the creative?
Yeah, I think it's more on the content creation side, so the UGC side. So we're
Right, but like
creating.
what are they talking about in the video? Like how are they representing your brand? Like what are they actually saying in the videos?
Oh, okay. Exactly. It would be like, hey, we just got these new dinnerware sets from Far and Away, and then we talk about the features, like it's X, Y, and Z, so on and so forth. It's just like a
Mm-hmm.
nicely shot thing, and we go into the studio and we create fake UGC videos, but it performs really well. That's why we work
Mm-hmm.
with creators.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So, okay, we could go a couple different directions on this, but like, typically, let's say that I'm, a creator. I have a handle. I want to pitch you as your D2C company. Typically, what I would do, like a good, like little hack here, is to, for example, I would pull up your Instagram page for your company, and I would say, okay, like what types of campaigns are they running? Let's say you ran a, New Year's promotion, like, new year, new you, like, let's revitalize your home, your kitchen, like get some new dinnerware. Like, yeah, so I don't know if you ran this campaign, but like this is the type of thing I imagine that you potentially would run for something seasonal. And so if I'm a creator, if I have a TikTok and I want to pitch you, what I would probably do is I would go on your Instagram handle and I would scroll back all the way to like last year, January. So let's say we're sitting in, let's say we're in the, right now we're in just starting Q2. So like I scroll back all the way to last year. Let's actually do a summer example, right? We're coming on summer for campaigns. We say, hey, last summer I saw that you were running like our dinnerware are perfect to bring to the beach. I don't know if that's true, but like, if they were, you could say, hey, I saw you run this campaign last year that your dinnerware is like perfect for throwing a picnic basket, portable, XYZ. Are you going to be running that same type of campaign again this year? So that's the thrust of the initial sentence of the pitch is like, and you, Jackie, you open that pitch from a creator, right? And you're saying, oh, well, yeah, we ran that campaign last year, this whole dinner. And we say, oh, well, yeah, we might run it again this year because it did pretty well for us, right? So that's the hook, right? Is like, hey, this is relevant, R and rope. It's relevant to your D2C brand, right? And then the next line of the pitch is, hey, I have, I've been talking about how much fun I have curating my picnic essentials every time I go to the beach. And then you link a post of something that you made last year where you can click through, Jackie, you see the engagement, you see the content quality, you see the people engaging with the content, etc. And so that's the organic. It's about showing how your audience has affinity for this particular subject, not just you have affinity, because that's not enough, right? And then the P is proof. So you say in the pitch, like, look, I can send you an example of how I've helped Crate and Barrel achievers, maybe not Crate and Barrel, but you know what I mean? Something relevant to your category, right? And you link another campaign. And then the E in easy to execute is you say to them, hey, I can, wondering if you're going to be running this campaign again this year. I would love to help you spread the word by doing the following. I can do 3 TikToks. I'll give you usage rights for the next 3 months. I can turn around the first pieces of content within 10 days. I can, are you free on Thursday at 10 a.m. to talk about it? That's the easy to execute piece. And so you give them this very quick, credibility packed full pitch. And you're not just saying, hey, I'd love to collaborate. Do you have some time to hop on a call? Because that's what every creator says. And you're just going to get your email deleted.
Yeah. No, I'm into that. All right. So highly personalized, like laser personalized messaging. Because what I actually see a lot of creators do, the lazy ones at least, is they go spread a wide net. So it's not very personalized. It's probably a canned message, and they send it out through thousands of people. Have you seen success with that, or do you typically recommend your students be like, hey, just laser focus, because you'll be able to get the larger deals that way?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, it's like, what do you want to do? The spray and pray approach where you have to email 100 people and maybe you get a bite on 1 or 2? Or do you want to do 15 to 20 minutes of research, craft a customized pitch to 10 people and get a response rate of 40 to 50%? Because literally that is what my students get. And it seems insane, but like I will get a response rate on every pitch that I do, 60, 70%, because it's relevant. Like it's relevant. Imagine if you got a pitch like that, Jackie. Relative, standing out to like these, like you said, all these other messages that you're getting that are super non-personalized, it's instant delete. Whereas this person did an iota of research into your brand, they are illustrating how they have credibility. It's like, at least you'll have that conversation, right? And so it's like, in my experience, like the deals that we have been able to forge as creators, the really, really lucrative ones have always come from outbound pitches. It has not been from inbound opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, I can use my brother as an example. He's a large, rather large TikTok influencer. Um, 300K plus followers, 100K plus on Instagram. He like locked in, for example, KitchenAid just from outreach, which is absurd, and they pay like mid five figures per campaign. It's wild. So yeah, I would
It's
definitely
awesome.
speak to my
Wow.
brother
That's
after
awesome.
that about this. But yeah, it's interesting to hear that you highly recommend. You don't even recommend going with the spray and pray, because a lot of people do that. At least the people I know. I guess switching gears as a
You know, okay,
brand.
you know the other reason, real quickly, that
Sure.
the spray and pray approach is really dangerous, especially to
Mm-hmm.
creators on the up and up, like on the come up, is that it sends the negative signal that cold pitching doesn't work. Because
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you're a creator starting out, you start sending, let's say, 10, 20, 30 pitches and you hear nothing. You start shouting
Yeah.
into the void, or you're sending these like highly unpersonalized pitches, and then you just convince yourself, well, I guess pitching doesn't work. And which is 100% false, right? And so I think that that's like the really reason that I'm so strongly, such a strong advocate of this customized approach, because it incentivizes the, it gives the positive feedback loop of like, no, this really is a good tactic if you spend time on it. But if you just take the volume approach, it's going to send the wrong signal that this type of thing won't work, and that's not true.
Yeah. No, I agree. It definitely works. It's really dependent on the number of emails you send. So I think it's a good way to put it that you can drive a certain amount of revenue. It's a matter of the number of messages you send at the end of the day, because a certain percentage of people will always convert. I think that's at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's both. Obviously, you do need to send emails. The more emails you send, the higher percentage of responses generally you will get, of course. But it's like there is a difference between sending 10 and sending 100. Right there is that difference, and you do need to split hairs there, I think, in terms of like what we're talking about here. I'm not talking about you need to send 1,000 emails, like you do need, but you need a large enough sample size to be able to start A/B testing the subject lines and the copy and what you're exactly saying in your hook, and so you do need enough to be able to start tracking that type of stuff as a creator.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough. How do you feel about the brands that? Because we also utilize a couple agencies for this, but the brands that are really pushing towards only gifting nowadays, because I'm sure you see that with your students, that a lot of brands just want to give you the product for free. They don't want to pay, but they want you to
Mm-hmm.
post about it. What do you teach them to
Mm-hmm.
say when the brand approaches and say, hey, we'll give you the free product? Sometimes it's pretty, it's worth quite a bit of money, but it's never that much. It's always, the cogs are always under $1,000. What's like
Mm-hmm.
your SOP here when a brand doesn't want to pay?
Yeah, so it's funny. Like I initially, talked a bit about this, but after I started coaching, like it became clear that this is like a really, really major pain point, especially for creators who are up and coming, kind of micro creators. And they're just like, man, I just cannot figure out. I have all these gifted offers in my inbox and I'm just getting so frustrated. Like, why are they not paying me? And so I decided to create a dedicated course all around this topic called Gifted to Paid. It's like, how do you go from 0 to 1? How do you actually articulate why compensating a creator makes sense? And so the first mindset shift that I help people realize is that when brands will reach out about a lot of different types of things that are all basically, we're not going to pay you, to creators, right? They'll say, oh, we want to give you free stuff, or oh, join our ambassador program, or oh, become an affiliate, or oh, here's a gift card, or oh, our product is expensive, so that should be compensation enough, right? There's all these different ways that brands say we're not going to pay you, right, as a creator. And so what most people do, which is the biggest mistake, is they just say, oh, I'm only focusing on paid partnerships right now. Come back to me when you have a budget. That's what a lot of creators say. And that is the worst thing you can do, because you're literally slamming the door in their face. And you're just closing all opportunities of potentially partnering. And so, for example, one of the things, let's say that a brand reaches out and they say, oh, become an affiliate or be an ambassador, whatever. I teach, you have to say different things in all of these scenarios. You can't just say the same thing back to everyone. So for the affiliate scenario, for example, maybe the strategy is going to be, you know what, I'm going to say something that is going to make them rethink their approach. So you could say something like, oh, thank you so much. This is super exciting. I'm a big fan of the brand. I'm curious, do your affiliates grant you the rights to repurpose the content that they post for paid advertising? I specialize in partnerships that require a flat investment. Happy to share some results of how I've helped other brands achieve results. Let me know if you'd like me to send over some investment options. Right. So it's like I teach this like concept of the pivot. It's like, you and to clarify, like they could just give you the deuces and be like, no, thanks. Like we're going to go talk with these other 100 creators that are fine accepting it for free or being affiliates. And that's fine. But for the brands that don't know any better, like this is what I teach is like, you have to have empathy for these brands because there's a lot of brands who don't know. They don't have the experience to understand. They have all these creators who are fine accepting free stuff. Mm-hmm. And so the brand's like, yeah, creators are cool at this. And so shifting the responsibility onto yourself as a creator to realize it's up to me to actually educate the brand around why compensating me makes sense and helping them understand what I'm going to do for them so that, they realize that compensating me makes sense. And so I think that that's like a really important shift around this whole gifted to paid discussion, because like to clarify, like if you're your brand, for example, like you should have a gifting strategy. Like that is you have a gifting strategy, you have a paid strategy, you have a paid media strategy, right? So it's like any brand worth their salt, like has, different time and a place for all these different tactics. And so it's like the perspective of the creator is like, okay, hey, can you pull from a different budget? Like, can you pull from the paid media budget to like work on me with this collaboration? Right. So it's like, there's all these different, tools that I swipe templates and stuff that I provide to my students. But I guess the big thing for me is just like taking the ownership back. Stop being a victim. Stop getting mad and believing that every brand is trying to take advantage of you. Yes, there are some brands who are doing that, but the majority of them are not. Like if you can articulate to them why you're valuable, like they'll pay you. End of story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to give you an example, we have like a gifting budget, we have a paid budget, like a shout out budget, a sponsorship budget, and we have like a UGC budget. But these gifting services that we use and the gifting strategy we use, a lot of the times there are some incredible pitches because their main pitch is like, you're going to be able to get like 30 B-roll videos out of us. And we're like, yeah, sure, we'll pay whatever you want at that point. But I think, yeah, you're right. It's about adjusting your messaging a lot of the times. I'm seeing like bringing out the benefit of what you bring to the table here. But yeah, I think, man, there's a lot of these gifting agencies nowadays, huh? That must be tough for your students to handle because agencies are a lot tougher to work with than the brands directly. Are you opposed to working with these agencies? Yeah.
I mean, I guess I just don't let it bother me that much. Like there's creators who really let this stuff get in their head and they just, really struggle with all these free offers in their inbox and trying to convert them. And I just basically say like, hey, if you're not converting any of these offers, like just realize like this is the brand's only purview. That's all they do is gifting. So trying to convince them to pay you, it's just not going to work. That's not what they were hired for. So stop getting so frustrated. Go out and do some cold pitches. You're going to have a lot more success. That's really the advice is like, stop trying to like get frustrated with all this stuff in your inbox like that. You're going to see so much better results if you just take the control into your own hands. Stop getting mad, take more of an active approach into like manifesting the types of partnerships that you ultimately want. Again, stop being a victim. Like go out and make the pitches that you want, get the partnerships that you want. A lot of this comes down to like confidence. So when I first started doing this, dude, I did not expect that was going to be one of the major obstacles. Like I came at it with like, here's a framework, here's strategies, here's blah, 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 blah. And people were just like, but what if the brand says no? And I'm just like, really? Like, come on, like, it's fine. That's good. Let's move on to the next one. It's all good. Right? And so it's like, I had to dial it back and focus on a lot more of these kind of mindset topics, because I think sometimes we let what's going on between our own ears be our biggest obstacle.
No, I definitely agree. Now, like onto sponsorship packages. I think we touched on this briefly. One thing I've noticed on Twitter, so I don't know what the creator economy is like on other platforms as much as Twitter, but I'm personally seeing, at least in our space, which is the SEO niche site space, a lot of creators, they actually undercharge. And what happens is they fill all their sponsorship slots. What I'm seeing personally is they fill all their sponsorship slots at like something super small, like $300, $400, $500 per sponsorship. But their audience is huge, like a newsletter of 10K plus people, followers 30K plus, all B2B, all very, high net worth people following them. Do you have any advice for these people? Because I feel like personally, I charge 4 to 5 times more than them, and I'm still able to fill my sponsorship slots. I don't fill all of them, but I think the net uplift I get from charging more is the overall revenue is just higher. How do you find the happy medium between, like filling your slots versus the pricing?
The first thing that I would say is go to creatorwizard.com/coaching. No, just kidding.
Love
No,
that.
but seriously. No, but it's like,
I respect it,
honestly, I'm a creator at heart. I'm gonna do my shameless plug. I got to do it, right?
Yeah,
but it's like, I think that it's this. I'm a big nerd on negotiation psychology, and I think that this is kind of going to get into a little bit of the weeds, but I think you guys will enjoy this. It's like there's this concept in negotiation psychology called your BATNA, which stands for your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And this was coined by some Harvard professor guru guys. And basically the concept is as follows. If you are negotiating with a brand, okay, you have to understand what are their alternatives if they do not hire you. So let's say you guys will love this because you're in the kind of niche site and niche business space. It's like if there's a brand, let's say you sell pool equipment, you have a blog all around like pool maintenance or something, right? It's like there's not that many blogs or newsletters all around pool maintenance, right? So if they are dead set on like newsletter sponsorships as like a strategy, then you have to understand that your negotiating leverage just skyrocketed. And so you have to be asking these probing questions around, hey, what like are you, what's your strategy look like? Are you doing, pre-roll ads on YouTube? Are you just doing blog banner ads? Are you doing news, whatever? Give me some perspective on like what your strategy looks like, because that's like the first most important lever that you have is understanding their negotiating position. Where are they at, right? Contrarily, you as a creator also have a BATNA. If a brand comes to you with a crappy offer and you have all these other income streams, you're heavily diversified, then you're more willing to walk away from this deal. And so that will give you the confidence to increase your sponsorship rates because it's like, hey, well, I can walk away from this. I don't need the money. Like I have all these other income streams, passive revenue, affiliates, whatever. And so I'm just going to double my rates, right? And so it's like this idea around understanding the value that you're bringing to the table in these negotiations. And you're right. I think a lot of it comes from just a lack of experience, haven't done a lot of partnerships. And not really understanding their true worth, not understanding the value of, being able to expose this SaaS company to 30,000 B2B marketers. That's a big freaking valuable thing that you should be charging for. And people just don't really realize that. And so I think, again, it comes down to education. That's honestly why I started doing what I'm doing, man, because I feel like it's my duty to help people, find and negotiate their dream sponsorships properly.
Yeah. How do you then balance, Justin, the difference? I guess you have your own product, you have your own course as well. So how do you balance your own products with sponsorships? Because I'm assuming at some point you could take on so many sponsorships that, maybe you drown out your own product. I don't know if it has a negative effect or not. That's something where I haven't really gone down that route because I have my own products.
Yeah.
Should I be thinking about doing sponsorships on
100%, bro? Okay, here we go. I love this. Okay, this is one of my favorite topics because it's like I also consciously did not take sponsorships for the first 2 years. And I turned the sponsorship switch on in my business about maybe 8 or 9 months ago. And it's now become like a significant 5-figure a month revenue stream for me. But I purposefully did not turn it on until recently. But the way I look at sponsorships, because people always ask me this, like, oh, I've got my courses and I've got memberships and stuff. Like, why do I need sponsorships? That seems like a pain in the ass. And I say to myself, look, you have to think about it from an audience first perspective. How can you serve them? Understanding the psychographics of your audience. What is keeping them up at night? Because there are products. James, can you just give me some context? What is it that you sell? What is your what's your products and stuff?
It's in combat sports. So it's like physical preparation for MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm affiliate. So I have my own membership, has training programs, courses, all that kind of stuff. And then have a podcast, newsletter, but then also affiliate for combat gear, gloves,
okay,
scouts, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I'm completely making this up, but let's say, for example, you send out an email to your newsletter and you say the following: "Hey, I just want to learn more about you. I want to get some information, like what types of jobs do you have? Like, where are you consuming my content? Is it in line at Starbucks, scrolling your phone for 2 minutes? Do you sit down every Sunday and like read a bunch of my posts or watch my videos or whatever for a couple hours? Do you have kids? Like, if you're comfortable sharing, what's your household income? Like all these questions that you can get a broader holistic picture of your audience. And then you have some other, more qualitative questions around what do you value? As a person, as an individual, like what's most important? What brands and products are you loving and using right now? Imagine, James, if you realize like, okay, you got this survey back and let's say 30% or 40%, a non-trivial chunk of your audience is like really into like home protection. So it's like, wow, I should go out and forge a partnership with Simply Safe or alarm.com, because the people who are really into like like MMA and like protection, self-defense, like they also want to protect their family. Right. So it's like you take it that one step further and realize like there's lots of products and services that you are not going to offer for your own business, but you are serving your audience by helping them like in their own lives. And so this is like my favorite piece of advice to give of people who have all these different income streams in their business is like, yes, absolutely. It's not an either or, it's both. Like you should be serving them with your products as well as partner products because you're helping them. It's audience first.
Gotcha. So you're looking at niches like outside of your main niche that don't compete with whatever you're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm into it.
Okay.
One thing I've noticed. One thing I've noticed. After you say this, it's very sad that My First Million podcast, they're not taking sponsorships anymore because now they're owned by HubSpot. It's such a missed opportunity. That could easily be a 6-figure, 7-figure revenue stream for them, but I guess to be honest, HubSpot doesn't need it. But yeah, it's just sad to see.
I mean, they took their money off the table, right? I mean, that was the terms of the deal, obviously. And I honestly, I'm not sure that they really expected it to grow as big as it did. Maybe they did, but like, I don't know. It's like, since the sale, like it's, I'm not sure that they really quite realized like how lucrative that revenue stream can be for certain podcast newsletters, et cetera. And so I don't fault them, but yeah, it's I don't think a lot of creators quite realize how lucrative it can be. Like seriously.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask is, I think we talked about it, but I don't think we got a definitive answer. Is there like a formula that you calculate your sponsorship packages off of? For example, a lot of people in the newsletter niche, in the larger newsletters, they calculate by CPMs, CPCs. They all include these metrics. I guess this will only be relevant to the newsletter niche, but like, how do you come up with a pricing for someone with 300K followers with an average, view count of 50K views per video on TikTok? I guess
so.
It's niche dependent.
A couple things. So number one, remember when we talked earlier on in the conversation around the goal types, right? Conversion, repurposing, awareness, right? And how critical that is that you ascertain that as a creator. What I teach in terms of I do have a calculator that I've developed for my programs that's very well researched. It's, lots and lots of data backed in terms of benchmarking and stuff. But the most important lever when it comes to figuring out like whether it's going to be, let's say, for example, 3-cent CPV or 10-cent CPV is the goal type. Because in a conversion focused campaign, right? You run a company that you have some sort of CPA, you have some sort of acquisition metrics of like, okay, I know that if I pay this YouTuber to talk about me, I get 10,000 views on average. I'm going to, let's say, get a 1%. I don't know what the math is, but 1% click-through rate on the tracking link. Of that percentage of people that carry through, a certain amount of people are going to ultimately make a purchase. And so it's like that amount of people times the average order value. That's the max we're going to pay this freaking influencer, because you've got it's a conversion focused campaign, right? You've got that math dialed in, right? And so contrast that with a repurposing campaign where a creator comes and it's UGC focused or whatever it is, like you don't really care what their reach is, because that's not the point. You're getting their content to be able to run ads or whitelisting or whatever, right? And so your negotiating leverage as a creator in that situation has now increased. As well as if it's a brand awareness campaign and you're just trying to spread the word and the metrics are squishier, right? It's just views, it's engagement, it's comments, et cetera, et cetera. That brand contact's boss is not breathing down their neck and being like, how many sets of dinnerware did this creator drive in terms of sales? That's not what they care about. It's just awareness, right? So your negotiating leverage in that final scenario is so much increased, right? And so, like, that's really my answer, is that in the calculator that I've developed, like, that flag of understanding what the goal type is going to heavily determine what your rate should be when you ultimately put your packages together and things like that too. Because again, it has to be in alignment with what the brand's trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think identifying the goal type in the beginning is absolutely key. That's like probably my main takeaway from our chat today. Gotta change my onboarding messaging for sure, and filter out some sponsors. Yeah, this is
well, I mean, I think the other thing too is that you want to make sure that it's in alignment with something that you can deliver. This is the other really big insight here, is that when you put together a proposal for a brand, when you put together your packages, package 1, this is what a lot of creators do. They're like, okay, package 1, 2 TikToks. Package 3, 4 TikToks. Package 3, 6 TikToks. It's just like linear, right? It's just like more deliverables, right? As the biggest mistake. Package 1, like, should be tied. Each package should be tied to the goal type. If the brand said we have multiple goals, like one is brand awareness, one is conversion, right? Each package is going to be accomplishing something different. So if it's conversion, well, package 1, it's going to just only be Instagram stories, and every single frame is going to have a link sticker, because that's the goal, is we're trying to drive conversions. Contrast that with, hey, package 5, which is high level brand awareness. That's going to be the whole shebang. And it's going to be, emphasizing the massive reach that you have across all this stuff, TikTok, newsletter, podcast, blah, blah, blah. It's like the views and all this stuff too, because that's the goal for that package. And so you help illustrate that, hey, brand, you said you're trying to do this. Well, picking package 4 is going to help you accomplish that. So that's the big unlock, is like tying each package to the brand's goals.
That's a good show as well, actually. All right, I guess being mindful of the time, I guess I have one more thing I want to talk about was, do you have like a standard follower count or engagement count that you recommend before starting to monetize? But honestly, if it's UGC goal campaign, you can start anytime, right? Because you're just simply competing with like a photographer or like a professional photographer at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I have a video on my YouTube channel called "How to Get Sponsorships at 0 subscribers," right? And it's exactly what you said. It's like you treat your platform as your portfolio, like you just mentioned, right? You illustrate to brands, like that's what you're pitching them at that point. Is not like, hey, come sponsor me, I'm going to showcase you to my 500 subscribers. That's not going to move the needle for the brand. So you're pitching something different. Hey, I noticed that you haven't launched your TikTok, or I noticed you're not running ads, geo-targeted to drive more foot traffic into your local, brick and mortar. I noticed you're not doing XYZ. I can do those things for you. I specialize in that. Hey, take a look at my platform. It's my portfolio, right? So it's like when you are starting out, your pitch has to be different than if you have 10,000 followers or you have a larger reach. And so it's just like that, like one of my goals with my coaching is helping people understand that is a sponsorship. It's not just like, oh, I talk about my brand and hold them up on my Instagram posts. Like, it's not just that. Like, if you are serving a brand, you're helping a brand in that way too, that is a sponsorship. And you should be thinking about your strategy differently, like at different points in your journey.
Yeah. Justin, that's crazy. By the way, was your background not in sales? I swear it feels like your background is in sales, because all your specialty, it seems like everything is B2B sales. It's insane. Did you never work in sales?
It's funny, dude. Like I was in medical devices prior to quitting and doing YouTube full time, and I was in product management, so not sales. I actually went to school for engineering. Like that's my background, is so definitely not sales. I don't know where it comes from. I honestly, like, I had to learn sales running the agency. That's really what it came down to, is like I had no idea what I was doing. And then I was like, okay, how do I get my foot in the door with these like giant media agencies? Like, how does that even work? Like, I had to learn, I had to like do a bunch of pitching, I had to do all this stuff and like kind of learn the ropes, read a bunch of books, like trial by fire, basically get in the room with like 15 agency executives and like sweat, you know, and really realize. And so a lot of it has been it's been from war wounds, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the only way to actually round up this podcast, Jackie, is to ask Justin if Creator Wizard wants to sponsor this podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. We're gonna have to pitch you.
Well,
a live pitch afterwards.
I think let's do. Okay, give me the pitch. Let's hear it. What's the pitch?
Oh, impromptu. There we go.
Oh, James, you gotta hit him with
Got to
it.
get used to the impromptu pitch.
All right, let's see. I'm on your Creator Wizard right now. I see you've got a little opt-in form there, so we could call it a conversion campaign. On your opt-in thing there, we have a YouTube channel where with the podcast, we will be giving you shout outs each week within the podcast to our 1,000+ subscribers on YouTube. I cannot remember how many we have listening on audio. Jackie, you'll have that information. Then we also have Jackie's newsletter shout out on there to 20K. Is it 20K now, Jackie? You got more. Plus 23K. Subscribers, all within business marketing. And then I don't know, you have one more thing and Jackie's Twitter as well. Shout outs on Jackie's Twitter. And outside of that, our only packages are 5 and 10 weeks.
Yeah, see, that's our mistake. We structured our sponsorship.
That's what we're figuring out after this.
We're gonna have to fix this.
We're like, yeah.
It's either conversion,
well, I think it's
Go ahead.
So I think it's like the major takeaway, I think, hopefully, is that every proposal that you do is gonna be bespoke. Now, you don't have to like start from scratch every single time. You're going to have some stuff, the old kind of templates that as you dial in the format that you can kind of copy and paste and tweak around, but you want the proposal to feel bespoke and customized to the brand. Oh, brand, you said that you're trying to do XYZ. Here's a great example. I just forged a partnership with Fiverr, you know, the website where you can hire freelancers and stuff, Fiverr. Right? And one of the things that they kept telling me on the initial call when I got on a call and heard about their goals and objectives, just giving them a shout out because they've been a great sponsor. And they basically said, hey, you know, we've been partnering with a bunch of newsletters and it's gone pretty well. But, you know, one of the things that is challenging for us is that it feels like once the newsletter goes out, it just kind of disappears into the ether, right? And we want to figure out something that's a little bit more permanent. Right. And so they just kept saying that over and over on the call. And I just kept listening and I said, okay, that's interesting. They keep talking about this. This seems like a pain point for them. So when I went ultimately back and put the proposal together, I decided to create a brand new section on my website called Partners. This didn't exist before, right? And I said, I am going to permanently put, for the duration of the partnership, I'm going to, if you go on like our little, you know, partners tab on the Creator Wizard website, that's going to have all the information about the Fiverr influencers program, which is what they wanted to promote. And so I put that in the proposal, and I feel as like that was one of the big things that ultimately sold the partnership for me. Is like they said, oh, that's cool, like sounds great, let's move forward, basically. And so the big aha, I think, or the big mindset shift here is that like you can create stuff that didn't even exist based on what the brand is trying to accomplish. And it feels like, oh yes, that's exactly what we wanted. Let's do it. Right. And so I was very like straightforward. Like, I don't know exactly how many people are going to be like going on here, but like, sounds like this is going to be a cool thing for you. You'll get some kind of brand awareness about our partnership. So yeah, that's I think should be the big takeaway is here, is that like, you just have to think of it as like, what do I need to craft? What do I need to put together to ensure that I'm going to help the brand achieve their objectives?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that sounds good. Justin, where can people find you? CreatorWizard.com. What's your all
right, dude. Yeah.
Hit us with your plugs.
All right. The main call to action. Yeah. The main CTA is I actually have a completely free newsletter that I share 3 times a week, actually. And it's creatorwizard.com/join. It's totally free. But the main reason that you should join, honestly, is that I send you paid sponsorship opportunities. I literally send them. I serve them up on a silver platter, and I'm like, these are brands that are actively trying to find creators to partner with. And so in addition to those opportunities, which I send out every Thursday, every Monday I send out what I call Mindset Mondays, where it's a kind of a think piece around sponsorship strategy, and then Strategy Saturdays, where it's like more in-depth YouTube videos and articles and stuff like that too. So yeah, creatorwizard.com/join.
Perfect.
Right,
yeah, that
Boom.
sounds great. Justin, what's your end goal here? Are you gonna keep doing this education platform until you hit $1 billion? Are you gonna create a platform where it connects creators and brands? Do you have an end goal in mind, or are you just figuring it out as you go?
My end goal is I have a mission to help creators big and small land 1 million sponsorships by 2032. That's my North Star. And it's very specifically not 1 million creators. It's 1 million sponsorships, because it's way more impactful and fulfilling to me to help one creator get 100 sponsorships and create a sustainable business than it is 100 creators to get one. And so everything that I'm building for my business in terms of my courses and coaching and community, newsletter, all that stuff is in service of that.
That's amazing. Yep, into it. All right, yeah, everyone go creatorwizard.com/wizard join. Sign up for the new free newsletter. Why not?
Yes, sir.
I think find some sponsorship opportunities. Amazing. All right, that's the pod, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks again.